O-Level Commerce May-June 2022 session, paper 22. The objective of this video is for you to know what's inside this paper 22, and it will be served as your revision. So what is inside the paper 22 of O-Level Commerce May-June 2022 session? The topics covered are the following: insurance premium, debit card, credit card, oral communication, letter as part of the communication, the benefits of social media, air transport, revenue, cost of sales, gross profit, net profit, so the computation of it, wholesaling, the idea about the discount, business organization, mobile banking, source of finance, the concept of the supermarket, as well as the self-service checkout, the benefits of technology, retail unit location, and overseas suppliers. Always remember that commerce is the distribution of goods and services. So commerce is one of the subunits of business studies. Item number 1 is all about insurance premium. And when we say insurance premium, it is the money that is paid by any person or a company or a business for availing of an insurance policy. So it is an amount to be paid for a contract of insurance. And in the figure 1.1, there is a table of the annual insurance premiums for motor cars based on the occupation. So as you can see in the figure, the first part of the table is the occupation, from motor racing driver, footballer, student, machinist, farmer, lawyer, and teacher, and its annual premium for the motor car. So when we say annual, this is what we call like yearly premium, the yearly insurance premiums. And as you can see, the highest annual premium for the motor cars is, of course, if your occupation is if you're a motor racing driver. And if you're a teacher, then you do have only a lower annual premium. So question A is, what is an insurance premium? As I've explained earlier, it is a payment for insurance covered, used to buy insurance or used to buy a policy or cover against risk amount given by insured to insurer. And the occupation, which is in the secondary industry, is of course the machinist. Machinist is a person who operates machines. And if you're going to analyze, there is a high premium charged to students for motor car insurance. As you can see in the figure 1.1, students' annual premium for motor cars is 1,300. So what is the reason behind it? Okay, aside from the occupation, why do you think that there's a high premium charge to students for the motor car insurance? So there are many factors, and you need to explain two. So obviously one of the factors is the age, because younger drivers more likely to be involved in an accident compared to older drivers. Why do you think that younger drivers are mostly involved in the accidents? Because of course, younger drivers are more easily distracted while driving. For example, possibly they use mobile phones while they're driving. Possibly there are friends in the car, or of course while selecting music to play. So there are many reasons behind the distraction. So age is actually one of the biggest factors. Another big factor is the inexperience. Remember, they are students, okay? They young drivers are less able to judge the speeds, okay, or the road conditions. So inexperience is one of the factors. And there are other answers that you can add. For instance, the value or the model of the motor, probably because it has a low value, since students cannot afford really the high model type of a motor, or even the size of the car. Of course, remember, the bigger the engine, the higher the premium. Another is, of course, the cost of repairs, because a more valuable motor is more expensive to repair. Another factor could be the past record of a driver. For example, there have been some previous accidents or driving offenses, and it would increase the premium. But with this kind of question, for why there are high premium charged to students for motor car insurance, I would suggest it's because of the age and because of the inexperienced young drivers. Next question is, should individuals specialize in particular occupations? Give reasons for your answer. So this topic is all about specialization of labor. And of course, in the marking schemes, I use the marking schemes, you do have options. Like, if you're gonna say yes, what would be the reason? If you're gonna say no, what will be the reason? And obviously the reason here is, and obviously that there are more benefits when individuals specialize in particular occupations. So for me, okay, personally, I would say yes, because individuals become more skilled. Individuals would get greater knowledge or more experience. And when an individual gets more experience, he or she performs better or at what they good at. And once that particular individual becomes an expert, then there's a less chance of unemployment, and there's a possibility of getting better job or even promotion. And once there's a promotion, of course, that individual may receive higher pay, and it increases the output, less time is wasted, and of course it produces higher quality and quantity, and it reduces costs and less errors. You see, so there is what we call the domino effect if an individual specializes in particular occupation, and in the end, of course, it would increase economic growth. But if your point of view is that if the individual specializes in particular occupation, if your perception is no, it's because that individual can become bored with the same routine, okay? And if that person becomes bored, it will lead into less quality of work, okay, and the productivity, and also the decrease of the job satisfaction, and of course there will be less job security, okay? But for me, okay, personally, I would say like yes, okay, the specialization is really an essential part of of any business organization. And the item letter D is, you have to circle the correct answer to complete each of the following sentences. So the first item is, an increased number of motor vehicles is a cause of global warming or global trade. And in this area, like, an increased number of motor vehicles is a cause of the global warming. So this item becomes tricky if you're not going to pay attention on the words, okay? So you have here like cause. What is the cause of global warming? An increased number of motor vehicles. So that is the answer. It's not like the cause of global trade is the increased number of motor vehicles. It's not, it's not the correct answer. So global warming is it's the cost. It's because of the number of motor vehicles. That's why we do have the global warming. And the second item is imported car parts will often be stored in A. Okay, so the product is imported car, the parts of the car. Okay, and where will you store those car parts? Of course, it's not in the cold storage warehouse, but it's the manufacturer's warehouse. And of course, if you're going to look like what is the cold storage warehouse, okay? So this kind of warehouse is obviously the products which are in that warehouse are, foods, like the dairy products, meat, vegetables, even medicines, even like cosmetics, because these products need to be kept in a freezer, okay, a freezer warehouse, or cold stores to maintain their properties. And when we say manufacturer's warehouse, this is like a place to store the goods required for manufacturing operations. So this is like the house and the supply of the raw materials, the production parts, the components, the semi-finished products. Next item, Khalid, a student, could pay his motor car annual insurance premium either by monthly direct debit or the total in advance by credit card. Discuss each of these two options. Which would you recommend? Give reasons for your answer. So if you're going to look at this, Khalid is a student, okay? And he has two options, two choices for him to pay his motor car annual insurance premium. We're talking about the insurance premium. It's either from a direct debit or pay in total in advance by credit card. So the two options, you should discuss it, okay? And you need to give your own recommendation. And of course, you need to have your reasons for your answer. So let's talk about the direct debit. Direct debit is a bank service that enables recurring, regular or irregular payments to be paid. And when we say recurring, it means periodically or repeatedly. Again, that enables recurring or repeatedly regular or irregular payments to be paid from a bank account when requested by a creditor. So it simply means direct debit is it lets your bank, okay, it lets your bank know that there are some businesses or some services which can take your money from your account on a set date. This is like a simple way to manage your regular payments. For example, like, your utility bills. Again, when you say direct debit, okay, direct debit is an automatic transaction. It's an automatic transaction that transfers money from your account. Okay, you've got money from your account, and it transfers the money. Some of your money would transfer to another account. Okay, so it's really handy. Direct debits are handy, especially if you're gonna pay your regular bills, like your monthly phone bill or gym membership. So remember, Khalid is just a student. Can he use direct debit? Or another option is the credit card. And obviously, credit card allows consumers like Khaled to buy goods or services when needed and repay the credit provided later. So when we say credit card, we're talking about here, it allows you to spend money up to a preset limit. It only means as well that you will get a bill for what you've spent each month, okay? And of course, you have to pay for it like in the future. And one of the should you get a credit card? Perhaps, yeah. Because if you use your credit card responsibly, if you're really responsible, then it will build your strong credit history. So for example, like in the future, you want to have a loan. If you want to avail a big loan for your car, or pay for your big insurance, or you want to get access for some housing options. So having a good, okay, a healthy, strong credit card history would would be an advantage for you, because you have the ability to pay. What else? Yeah, so what would be your options? Okay, what would be Khaled's your recommendation for Khaled? So as you can see, like if it is a direct debit, it saves time and effort, because there's no need for him to worry about remembering to pay his premium. So because he's a student, okay, so and he needs to be responsible. And since if he would pay using the direct debit, if he would pay the insurance premium using the direct debit, so Khaled doesn't need to think about, like, he has bills to pay. Now, there's also a loss of personal control over the bank account if the insurance company might take more than expected in a payment. So what if the insurance company increases the amount of that premium? So there's no control, okay? Of course, Khaled must have sufficient funds in his account to meet the direct debit payment, or he will have to pay bank charges. So if it's under the limit, then it means that he has to pay for some bank charges. So it means that if he's going to avail the direct debit, he must have good amount of cash on the bank. And most insurance companies will offer a discount for paying a direct debit. However, okay, but some insurers might add an extra fee. Okay, so there sometimes, okay, not all the time, but they will add an extra fee for monthly payments and charge interest. So if there will be monthly an extra fee and an interest, it will be added to the cost of Khaled. Now, if he's going to use the credit card, okay, so free credit is obtained by Khaled for at least a month. So he buys the insurance without paying for it immediately. If he's going to pay by paying the credit card in advance, the debt has been cleared, and interest to be paid if the credit card balance is not paid off in full. So it means it will be more costly if he's not going to repay on time. So again, but he has the control, okay? He can control if he is going to repay the credit provider or not. Another advantage is, of course, he could receive reward points, okay? In some credit card companies could give reward points. And always remember that you can use there are many ways for you to use a credit card to make money and earn extra cash. For example, maximizing your cash bank, or earn your sign up bonus, and there are lots of perks that you can use. All you need to do is to be updated with the company. Like, always remember, like, if you're a newbie in availing the credit card, or if you're a newbie in having the credit card, always remember to pay your bill on time. And of course, check out also your credit limit. Also review your credit card charges. And of course, you need to have with this a deposit account. And you have to be responsible, because once you've got the credit card, then you tend to you tend to spend a lot of it. So you have to be responsible in purchasing an item or services. So what's for the evaluation? So if you're going to look at the evaluation, Khaled will usually pay less for car insurance if he can afford to pay in advance. Of course, if he's going to use his credit card, if Khaled is going to use his credit card, he's going to to pay for it in advance, and that will be beneficial, okay, especially if there's 0% interest credit card. By doing so, he can benefit from the discount most insurers offer to those that pay in full and then repay the credit card balance before the end of the 0% offer period. So there are more benefits if Khaled will be using the credit card. But with so many other costs to deal with, okay, he may still prefer to pay for his car insurance in more manageable monthly direct debit payments, especially from an insurance company who does not charge extra for direct debit. So imagine that Khaled is still a student, and being a student has lots of costs. He has many expenses. So if you're Khaled, are you going to take a risk of using the credit card, or stick with the direct debit? Item number 2, it's all about communication. An international cricket club uses a variety of communications in its operations. The club is making increased use of air transport to send equipment for matches. And when we say cricket, it's a type of sports, okay? So the club is making an increased use of the air transport to send equipments for matches. And the question in this item is, explain one example of oral communication that might be used by the cricket club. And when we say oral communication, we're talking about here it's a type of interaction that makes use of spoken words. So obviously, the first example, okay, of an oral communication is a loudspeaker, since loudspeaker is used to announce the score or the messages to supporters at ground. And there's also one item aside from loudspeaker, not another term, but there's another word. The word is tannoy. Yeah, tannoy it's a trademark. It's a British name. It's a British trademark for any public address system. So when we say tannoy, it's a trade. Of course, it's a noun. It's a trademark, a sound amplifying apparatus used as a public address system, especially like in the universities, and if there's an announcement in the universities or in a large building, tannoy is being used in UK. Okay, that is like a UK term. Another type of oral communication is, of course, the radio or online interviews by the captain after the match. Another is telephone calls, voice messages, for example, with the supporters about the tickets, availing the tickets. Another oral communication is the face-to-face meetings or team meetings between the players before the match to discuss the changes of the strategies. And of course, another oral communication is video call or video conferencing, for example, between the club and the players on the tour. Another question here is explain why letters are used by the club when signing new players. So we are talking about here another form of communication, which is of course letters. And what's the usage of letters on signing new players? So obviously, one purpose is to confirm details or to clarify some points, okay, to understand what is in the contract, since of course new players need letters, okay, and under the contract, of course, there should be a detailed, well explained points about about the payment, about the rules and regulations player club needs to know. Another purpose of the usage of letter is, of course, for maintaining records, of course. Another is it can be used as an evidence or proof, just in case that there would be disagreements or misunderstandings. So letters are considered as a formal record, okay? Like doing black and white, of course, is really important as a form of evidence. And of course, there's the need of the signature for legal requirements for the future references. So yes, so obviously, like, you need letters when signing new players to maintain records, to give detailed information about what's under the contract. It is served as a written record to be used as a proof or evidence to decrease the disagreements, and of course, for as part, okay, letter is also part of a legal requirement for future reference. Next question is, do you think negative social media reviews from supporters, again, negative social media reviews from the supporters of the cricket club, are always bad for a sports club? We're talking about here like the negativities of the reviews in the social media. So give reasons for your answer. So if you say yes, that negative social media reviews are always bad for the sports club, it's because like the supporters look at the review as, before they buy a good or a service. So if the review is negative, of course, what will happen to the demand, okay? The power of purchasing. They would change your opinion. And if there are negative social media reviews, it will be seen as a bad publicity, damaging the brand image. And remember, like, if there's a damage or there's a negative reputation or the image, it will lead into the loss of sales, okay, or the decrease of sales, and it will lose some brand loyalty, and the loss of the sponsorship deals, and there will be uncertainty for the players to join the club. to the point that some players may want to leave the club, and that's it. Okay, so having a positive social media reviews could make the club more confident. But if your answer is no, okay, like negative social media reviews, it can be, are not always bad for the sports club. Probably because these negative reviews would act as an important feedback, okay, advice to the sport clubs. Remember that customers or customers would give a negative feedback, for 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 a bad service. But this negative feedback for other people can be served as a motivation for them to do better. And these negative feedbacks can address the problem that the club needs to act upon, and it will reduce their mistakes in the future because at least they know the feedback coming from the supporters. It will also show that the club cares about the members and the supporters, because the sports club listen to not only the positive reviews but also the negative reviews. Another is, at least it will provide publicity. Okay, sometimes if the publicity is negative, consumers would be curious about what's happening in that particular product or service. Okay, this time it's all about the sports club, so there's a spark of curiosity out of the supporters or the other new people who want to be part of the sports club, so it can be advantageous too. And of course, some negative reviews, or most of the negative reviews, can be ignored and can be seen as trolls on the internet, or because remember, social media, some people are fake, and some people are just trolling. Some people are just like making fun to to distract the reputation of the company or service. So in answering this type of question, always remember about the effect, okay, towards the effect towards the consumers and the effects towards the labor. You can also include the brand image, the effect of the negative social media reviews on the brand image, and from there, you would tap the domino effect. Next question for item number 2 is, sports clubs need to consider several factors such as the nature of the equipment to be carried before deciding to send their equipment by air transport. Now we're talking about here how to distribute the one product or service in one place, okay? The distribution. So evaluate, so you have again the evaluate, so you need to explain and further explain, okay, the two other factors sports clubs should use or should consider before choosing air transport. So before choosing air transport, what are the factors, okay, to send their equipment? Give reasons for your answer. So sports club will have to consider all the factors before choosing the air transport. So even though the most economic method of transport is chosen for most goods, sports team equipment usually needs to arrive at its destination before the match takes place. So the equipment of any sports team must arrive actually before the match. So they need to set up all the equipments before the day of the match. and it cannot be late. So this is the most important factor for a sports club. As equipments as the equipment is high value, uh, any sports equipment is really expensive. So if there's a damage, then it it will be really difficult for the company or for the group to buy quickly because of the small amount of the products. Okay, low volume, small amount. So sports team equipments are really sensitive, so it should be fragile, not really, yeah, fragile, to the point that there should be, assistance all the time. So it is very suitable to be carried by air. So there are many factors about this. Okay, so the equipment is likely to be high value and low volume, so it's very suitable to be carried by air. But there are other factors to be considered. For example, is the speed, since air transport is the quickest form of transporting the equipment. Okay, and the equipment must arrive on time, okay, or before the event. Another is the distance. Okay, so air transport can deliver the equipment to any country where it is required. Although, okay, you have to think about it that the cost of the air transport is kind of expensive. Okay, but even though that it's expensive, the cost sometimes decreases depending on the competition. So if there's a competition between, okay, or among the airlines, so it tend to you tend to avail the cheapest. Another is, of course, the security, of course, since the equipment, the sports equipments are really expensive, so there must be a great supervision. You have also to consider the quantity of the equipment. Okay, so if the quantity, okay, if the equipment is in small quantities, then of course it's not going to be a problem. The cost is kind of low. But if the quantity and even the weight of the equipment also, would give you a high cost, then you have to think about it again. Another is the value of the equipment, since the equipment needs to have enough insurance to cover the losses in the transit. And you also always remember that if you're going to avail air transport, okay, it pollutes the air, and of course you have to think about the ethical ways for you to deliver those equipments. So among all the factors, okay, considering the equipment is a high quality equipment, then another factor that would be considered, okay, for you to avail the air transport would be the speed, okay, and also the cost or the budget. Third item is all about Aisha. And Aisha opened a shop 6 months ago selling homemade cakes and meat pies. And she buys her meat pies from a wholesaler. So there's a table showing the two products sold and its revenue, the cost of sales, gross profit, expenses, and the net profit or the profit for the year. And when you say revenue, revenue is the total income earned by the business, And of course, when we say cost of sales is also known as the cost of revenues. And we do have also, the cost of revenue, which is the total cost incurred to produce or sell a good. And we do have also the gross profit, also known as the gross profit is the total sales minus the total cost of sales. Now the question is, the task is for you to do the calculations to complete the gaps, the first, second, and the third in the table. So how are you going to compute for the gross profit? Of course, it will be revenue minus the cost of sales. So as you can see in the cakes, you've got 15,600 minus 5,000. So the gross profit for the cakes is 10,600. And then, of course, the meat pies, the revenue is 35,400 and the cost of sales is 31,200. The gross profit is 4,200. Now, in the second part, the cost of sales is missing. So what you need to do is to subtract the revenue, okay, from the gross profit. So revenue minus the gross profit, so that you will know the cost of sales. Once you get the gross profit, then you have to deduct the expenses so that you can get the net profit. So in this case, the answer, the net profit of the meat pies is much smaller, okay, than the net profit of the cakes. So again, how are you going to compute the net profit? Gross profit minus the expenses. How are you going to compute for the gross profit? Revenue minus the cost of sales. And if you're going to define revenue is the income received from the sales, okay? Or you can simply say revenue is quantity sold times the sale price. Or you can say money generated by the business, amount or the earned receipts from the sales, or the total sales. So for you to make it easier, revenue is the income received from the sales, or you can also include the formula, which is the quantity sold times the price, the sale price. Now, this question is related to Aisha, because remember that Aisha buys her meat pies from a wholesaler. So what are the two possible disadvantages? So as you can see, I've presented, okay, in the marking schemes, there are at least there are 6 disadvantages. And what I will recommend is, of course, the second to the last part, which is meat pies are perishable. So it means that there's a certain amount of time that you need to sell it. When we say perishable, it means that it's liable to spoil, okay, to decay, and the products which are perishable are, fruits, vegetables, even eggs are perishable. So it means that if your answer is the meat pies are perishable, it might be less fresh from a wholesaler, okay, especially if the wholesaler does not have a refrigerated warehouse, and it could really affect her reputation. Remember that Aisha would buy her meat pies from the wholesaler. So the question is, how fresh, okay, are the ingredients of the meat pies? How fresh are those products? That will be a disadvantage for her. Even though if the wholesaler uses a cold storage warehouse, Aisha doesn't know the when will be the expiration date. Although like there's an expiration date, the wholesaler would inform Aisha, but how about the freshness of it? Another possible disadvantage is the price, okay, because it's really more expensive to use a wholesaler, okay, to get her products, and it will increase her cost for sure, okay, comparing from buying to the manufacturer. So I would suggest to Aisha, okay, instead of buying meat pies in the wholesaler, how about she buys it from a manufacturer. In this way, of course, if she's going to buy from a manufacturer of the meat pies, it will decrease her cost. And remember that she may have to pay for the delivery. So the delivery has an extra cost involved. Next question is, Aisha would like to increase her revenue. And there are two possible solutions for her to increase her revenue. It's either A, offer a discount of 20% if customers buy 10 cakes. Each cake costs $3. So if you're going to think about it, one cake is $3. So 10 times 3 equals 30. And what is the 20% of 20% discount? So the 20% of 30 is 6. So $30 minus 6 is 24. So that will, Aisha will receive $24 if all 10 cakes are sold. And there's another possible solution, which is, pay someone $600 to design a website to advertise her cakes and meat pies. So the first solution is to offer a discount, and the second solution is to design a website. Discuss each of these solutions, recommend a course of action, and give reasons for your answer. So if you're going to analyze, like, discounts can be a great way to increase sales, and it will be served for customer satisfaction because there's a discount, and it widens her customer base with new customers. Unfortunately, however, it's a short-term tactic or a short-term solution, okay, not unlike the website, which may have a long-term benefit. And of course, if she can afford a website, then it will make her business look more professional, because nowadays, it's a fact that if you will have a business, there should be a website. And if it offers online sales, of course, it will increase the order. And if there will be the increase of the order, then there will be the wider customer base. And if you're going to take a look at her the table earlier, that the net profit of cakes is $8,000 and the net profit of meat pie is $2,700. So she has roughly estimated $10,270 profit if you're going to combine the two products. So she can really afford to pay someone to design a website for $600. To further discuss the options, so if you will recommend the discount as the option for Aisha to increase her revenue, then emphasize also the quickness of the increase of sales because it's a discount, right? Another is you can include the build-up of the relationship within the customers because there's the loyalty. Another is profit will be reduced unless the cost of $3 per cake can also be reduced by 20%. Another is it really attracts the customers because of the term discount. But you have to think about, the consumption of 10 cakes. Well, will there be many customers who wish to buy and consume 10 cakes? Okay, and remember also that discount may only get the attention of the customers who like a bargain and will not want to buy any more cakes after the offer finishes. So you have to take a look also on the consumption of the cakes. Another is, of course, the attitude of the consumers towards on their willingness and their capability to buy 10 cakes. If Aisha chooses website as an option, of course, website can be seen more widely and it's 24/7. It's easy for her to change the photos, okay, and even the details. She can easily update her website. Another is it's easier for her to advertise it because she can provide more details about her product. Another advantage for her is website can save money on other advertising. Another is, of course, designing a website is important, okay, to avoid order and delivery processing problems if it enables online sales. So once she has the website, then she has to pay attention on the online delivery. Another is, and since that Aisha has this local business, meaning to say that she deals only with the local customers, if she's going to use a website, she might attract too many distant customers and she might not be able to meet such demand, since of course website is for all. And if like one of the customers is so far away from her, what is she going to do? In my opinion, if I'm going to choose between a discount option and a website option, I would rather choose the website option because number one, she's new, okay? She's new and there's a competition in the market when it comes with her product. Another explanation is the easiness for Aisha to update her website and to connect with other people. It's easy to access. And thirdly, website has a long-term benefit, unlike giving discounts. Item number 4 is all about Wasi. And Wasi is a self-employed photographer working from home, and he uses mobile banking for most of his payments. Identify a form of business organization that Wasi could set up. He could set up a sole trader. He could be a freelancer, and also he can set up a private limited company. And the next item, that you need to explain one advantage and one disadvantage of using mobile banking to make payments. So, what are the advantages of using the mobile banking? First of all, of course, the convenience. It's really convenient, very fast to make payments because you don't need to use cash, and all you need to do is to click on the payment function, and you can easily or immediately pay for it. It's because of technology again. Another is the availability, since mobile banking is available 24/7 wherever you are. There is mobile network reception. And since most people have smartphones, it's easy to transfer payments. So it means that the advantages of mobile banking is it's convenient, it's available, and it's easy to transfer payments. On the other hand, what are the disadvantages? You only need to answer only one disadvantages, but let's explain some. Okay. First of all, of course, since mobile banking is the usage of technology, then it means that the users are at risk. It's really risky, especially if the users would receive fake SMS messages. Okay, there are some hackers and there are some scammers, which will trick you as a user of mobile banking, and it will lead to the loss of money. Okay, another is once you use it, then there will be an extra cost if the bank charges a fee for the service or an app. Another disadvantage is the less personal customer service. So it's if you're going to visit a bank branch, you can communicate face to face with the banker or a teller, but in the mobile banking, there's the less service coming from the people of the bank. Another disadvantage is, how about the connection? What if there's an internet connection problem? Some people may not have any Wi-Fi, or there's a connection problem, so that will be a disadvantage. And of course, you may still need to go to the bank to pay in the checks. So in short, even though mobile banking is always available 24/7, it's easy to transfer payments, it's very convenient, but you have to take a look at the other side, which is, of course, the usage of technology and the rampant people who are hackers and scammers who could penetrate your app. Another item is, again, for Wasi, and Wasi wants to work from a purpose-built studio in the garden of his home, but he doesn't have enough finance, okay, enough cash from his own savings to buy a studio. So explain one reason why obtaining finance might be difficult for Wasi. First of all, of course, Wasi is a self-employed person. Okay, he's a sole trader. So for the banks, it's difficult for him to have a loan, okay, or to get a finance, because he's a sole trader, and it might seem him as a high risk that he will not be able to repay. Another is there's no proof, okay, on his credit history. There's no credit history. So since he's into a new business, and he doesn't have any past track history or no credit history, then it's difficult for him to get the finance. And lastly, uh, because of his limited assets, since he has a small business. So if he's going to, ask for a loan and he cannot have a collateral, okay, an offer to the lender as a security, then that will be a downfall for him. Now, to add another question regarding this uh, WASI situation, do you think a loan would be the most suitable source of finance for WASI to choose, and justify your answer? So you have this justification of your answer. So the first thing that you need to do is to explain what's the meaning of a loan. So a loan is a long-term finance provided by banks, and it is borrowed for a set period within an agreed repayment schedule, and the repayment amount will depend on the size and the duration of the loan and the rate of interest. So first, your first paragraph can be the definition of a loan. Give the characteristics or describe the loan itself, okay? And of course, your second paragraph is the gist, okay? So do you think that the loan would be the best source of finance for WASI? So why is he going to use the loan, okay? So you can say that the loan is not repayable on demand, so long as regular repayments are made. Another is the bank will not take any profits or own a share of the business. Another explanation is there's a fixed interest rates, so WASI knows the level of the repayments and the duration of the loan. So it means that since he knows when, okay, he is going to pay, then it can help him plan for his cash flow. The downside is, of course, you have to analyze, or you also need to emphasize the regular payments of the customers. If the customers pay him promptly, like if the customers would pay him on the exact time, then he would not have any difficulties on the regular repayments. It will be difficult for him if his customers don't pay him promptly. So just in case that loan is not an option, then WASI must think of other forms of finance. For example, like selling his personal assets, or or you can have, like, he can have buy from a supplier that offers a higher purchase. So the studio will become a fixed asset of the business once WASI buys it. And loans are more suited to this purpose than overdrafts, which are used to pay day-to-day expenses. So a loan seems most suitable if he doesn't have enough cash available, but it will depend on how much the studio costs. So you have to take in consideration the cost of the studio. Once WASI could determine the cost of the studio, then that's the time for him to decide if it's going to be a loan or not. If it is a large amount of money, which would have to be repaid over a longer time, then a mortgage may be a more suitable option because it will charge less interest. So in this case, it's either, if your answer is loan, then there are many factors, okay, including the price, the cost of the studio, and the ability for WASI to get revenues for his business. And remember, WASI is only a sole trader, which means that it's really risky for him to invest a large amount of an asset. Item number 5 is a figure about self-service checkouts. Figure 5.1 shows self-service checkouts that a supermarket chain has introduced into its stores. And this is part of its new technology developments. And as you can see here, that it is a self-service checkout. And remember, SCOs, okay, SCO, also known as a self-checkout, or another name for self-service checkout is the ACO, okay, the assisted checkouts. So these are the machines, okay. Self-service checkouts are machines that provide a mechanism for the customers to complete their own transaction from a retailer without needing a traditional staff checkout. So it's a self-service. You don't need to use a staff member, okay, to finish or to complete the transaction. And the question for item number 5 is state or identify the 2 characteristics of a supermarket aside from having self-service checkout. So in a supermarket, of course, obviously it's a self-service. Supermarket has a large site. It has air conditioning. Supermarket has CCTV as a part of the security. Of course, supermarket has an ATM. There are vending machines. The goods are displayed on the shelves. Of course, obviously, supermarket is a place to sell food and household goods and variety or different kinds of goods. Of course, there are also sales promotion. A supermarket has competitive and sometimes low prices. And of course, you can use a store card or a credit card. Another question is to explain the 2 advantages of self-service checkouts to supermarkets. And obviously, the first advantage is the reduction of labor, because if there's a decrease of the labor, of course, there's the less wage to pay, or it means that there will be low costs. Another advantage is it will keep the supermarket ahead of the competition. Okay, there is what we call the USP. Okay, it gives competitive edge. Another is it's faster, okay, than normal checkouts or cashier tills. Another is, of course, there's the better usage of the space. So the extra space would be used in another in setting up, products to increase the sales. Another great advantage is there would be fewer errors because there's a great, huge accuracy, less mistakes in undercharging the customers. Like in this case, the 2 obvious advantages of self-service checkout would be the reduction of labor and, of course, the accuracy. So it means that there will be less mistakes on charging the customers. And aside from this, there's a question about the technology. So do you think introducing new technology into supermarkets benefits the customer? So in any commerce exam, and same goes in the business, there's always the advantages and disadvantages of technology. So you should have like an accurate, answer with evidences. So give reasons for your answer. And most of the time, of course, you can benefit consumers and the businesses can benefit new technology? Because if your answer is yes, self-service checkouts can increase the speed of the transaction, and it can save customers time, and there's less need to queue, okay, to have a long line. So there is efficiency, more efficient and also effective. Another advantage of using new technology is the customer satisfaction, okay, because some customers do not really want social interaction, so new technology could benefit them. And another new technology, for example, the online ordering, okay, so when goods delivered directly to customers, it also saves time for them. The downside, okay, if you're gonna say no, it will not benefit the customer, probably because like some groups of people, like the grown-ups, may find difficulty in using the technology, so you need to educate them as well. Sometimes some items may not be scanned, so it will be a problem maybe in the barcode, so you need an assistant to solve that problem or that issue. And sometimes some customers also prefer social interaction with the people, so in the supermarket, especially in the supermarkets, so they would tend to talk or to have a conversation with the cashier. So if there will be new technology, then of course there will be less interaction. And there's also the item that you need to take, okay, true or false, which statement about the location of retail units are true and which are false. So department stores locate in neighborhood areas. Of course, it's false. Since, department stores are located in the central area of each part of the city, so that it will provide accessibility and easy access to the most number of consumers living in that area. So department store is actually like in the middle, okay, middle of the cities, where, and usually department stores are located in the high traffic areas. Second item, shopping centers locate near to transport routes. Yes, it's true. By the way, shopping center is also known as a mall. Okay, it can be a shopping complex, a shopping arcade, shopping plaza, galleria. They're all the same. Okay, shopping center is a group of shops built together, sometimes under one roof, okay, one area. And of course, the location of it is near to transport routes, meaning to say near to the public roads, highway, train stations. So it means that it's accessible to all the transportation routes. Third item is hypermarkets locate where car parking is available. Always remember, and it's true, because always remember that car parking is really essential to any shops, okay, especially when it comes to the supermarkets and hypermarkets. And when we say hypermarket, it is like a one-stop shopping location where you can find all the products you need, okay, at very convenient price, of course. In just one place, you have everything. On the other hand, when we say supermarket, it's a store that specializes in, selling food, drinks, and household goods. So it's not, not all products are in the supermarket. And the last item would be the supermarket imports much of its perishable stock from overseas suppliers and evaluate two difficulties faced by the supermarket when using the supply chain and give reasons for your answer. So, what would be the disadvantage? Okay, the two problems that would be facing by the supermarket if it will use imported products. Okay, first of all is the shelf life, because perishable items will have a shorter life than locally sourced products. And remember, the locally sourced products can be really fresh or fresher than the other imported, okay, goods. Another is the cost of importing. Remember the tariff, because there would be additional costs on custom. There will be some import duties, so charging high. So it tends to have a higher price in terms of the imported products. So in short, if you're in a supermarket and if you see an imported product which has a high price, it means that it compensates on the cost of importing because of the tariff. Another concern would be the exchange rate differences, since remember that there will be fluctuations when making transactions and it will be more complicated. Another concern would be the risk in the transit itself, okay? Because there might be damage on the perishable goods while importing. It's because of the long distance. And another is the ethical and moral issues, because there might be bad publicity for not using the local products, and of course that will be that will cause a bad reputation over the supermarket. So if you're going to use the marketing schemes to evaluate this question about the difficulties faced by the supermarkets when using imported products, first will be the time element, which is its risk of not receiving goods on time. That will be the biggest difficulty of any supermarket, because they do not want to have empty shelves and lose customers. Another difficulty would be the price that the overseas suppliers charge to the supermarket. And of course, supermarket has to consider the additional cost because of the tariff. Although importing perishable stock would increase the supermarket's diversification of the product range, comparing to the other competitors who may only sell the local brands, it can help the supermarket to increase the profits and can overcome other problems or difficulties of this supply chain.